After having the packed lunch at a hotel on the way, we continued our journey to Masai Mara. We first headed straight to the Mara Conservancy, where we would be able to see many animals, and from there would be heading to the Mara River Lodge. The highlight of all these was the kill of a zebra by a lioness. Usually, it is the lioness which engages in hunting the prey. However, the lion is believed to partake of the major share, hence the phrase the lion's share, which evolved from the Greek fables of Aesop. Masai Mara, locally known simply as the Mara, is a large national game reserve in Narok County, Kenya, contiguous with the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. It is named in honor of the Masai people, the ancestral inhabitants of the area who migrated to the area from the Nile Basin. Their description of the area, when looked at from afar, Mara means spotted in the Mara language because of the short, bushy trees which dot the landscape. Masai Mara is one of the wildlife conservation and wilderness areas in Africa, with its populations of lions, leopards, cheetahs, and African bush elephants. It also hosts the Great Migration, which secured it as one of the 7 natural wonders of Africa and as one of the 10 wonders of the world. The Great Migration usually happens in July, depending on the weather, as the wildebeest moves in large numbers crossing the Mara River from Tanzania. The Greater Mara ecosystem encompasses areas known as the Masai Mara National Reserve, the Mara Triangle, several Masai group ranches, and Masai Mara conservancies. When Masai Mara was originally established in 1961 as a wildlife sanctuary, it covered only 520 square kilometers of the current area, including the Mara Triangle. The area was extended to the east in 1961 to cover 1,821 square kilometers and converted to a game reserve. The Narok County Council took over management of the reserve at this time. Part of the reserve was given National Reserve status in 1974, and the remaining area of 159 square kilometers was returned to local communities. An additional 162 square kilometers were removed from the reserve in 1976, and the park was reduced to 1,510 square kilometers in 1984. The Masai people make up a community that spans northern, central, and southern Kenya and northern parts of Tanzania. The Masai rely on their lands to sustain their cattle, as well as themselves and their families. Before the reserve's establishment, the Masai were forced to move out of their native lands. Some of this was due to smallpox outbreaks among the people, as well as rinderpest outbreaks among the cattle. Tradition continues to play a major role in the lives of modern day Masai people, who are known for their tall stature, patterned shukas, and beadwork. Shuka means a sheet or wrap, a cloth in traditional colors worn by the Masai people to show their wisdom and status. In 2008, an estimated 500,000 individuals spoke the Mara language. This number includes not only the Masai but also Samburu and Ilkamas people in Kenya. The total area under conservation in the greater Masai Mara ecosystem amounts to almost 1,510 square kilometers. It is the northernmost section of the Mara Serengeti ecosystem, which covers around 25,000 hectares in Tanzania and Kenya. Masai pastoral ranches are to the north, east, and west. To the south is the Serengeti National Park. The Syria Olulolo escarpment is to the west. The Mara River, along with its tributaries, the Sand and Thalek rivers, are the major rivers draining the reserve. Shrubs and trees run along most drainage lines and cover the hills. The terrain of the reserve is primarily open grassland with seasonal riverlets. In the southeast region are clumps of the distinctive acacia tree. The western border is the Isoid or Syria escarpment of the East African Rift, which is a system of rifts some 5,600 kilometers long from Ethiopia's Red Sea throughout Kenya, Tanzania, Malawi, and into Mozambique. Wildlife tends to be most concentrated here, as the swampy ground means that access to water is always good, while tourist disruption is minimal. The easternmost border is 224 kilometers from Nairobi, and hence it is the eastern regions which are most visited by tourists. It has a semi-arid climate with biannual rains and two distinct rainy seasons. The long rains last around 6 to 8 weeks in April and May, and the short rains in November and December last around 4 weeks. There is a significant rainfall gradient around 800 millimeters per year in the east to 1,200 millimeters per year in the west. The elevation is from 1,500 to 2,180 meters. Rainfall 83 millimeters per month, and temperature ranges from 12 degrees to 30 degrees Celsius. As of 2023, Mara Conservancy manages the Mara Triangle on behalf of the county, while the county government of Narok manages the Narok sector. The more visited eastern part of the park, known as the Masai Mara National Reserve, is managed by the Narok County Council. The Mara Triangle in the western part is managed by Mara Conservancy on behalf of the county since the early 2000. The outer areas were administered by ranchers of the Masai community. The land was then subdivided, though some members received greater benefits than the majority of landowners. This caused weakening of the regulatory system, which threatens sustainable management of the Mara. Since October 2012, the Mara Meru Cheetah Project has worked in the Mara monitoring the cheetah population, estimating population status and dynamics, and evaluating the predator impact and human activity on cheetah behavior and survival. The Mara Predator Conservation Program also operates in the Masai Mara, cataloging and monitoring lion populations throughout the region. The spotted hyena is also studied in the Masai Mara. A flow assessment and transboundary river basin management plan between Kenya and Tanzania was completed for the river to sustain the ecosystem and the basic needs of 1 million people who depend on its water. The BBC television show titled Big Cat Diary was filmed in the Masai Mara. The show followed the lives of the big cats living in the reserve. The show highlighted scenes from the reserve's Musayara Marsh area and the Leopard Gorge, the Fig Tree Ridge areas, and the Mara River, separating the Serengeti and the Masai Mara. In 2018, the Angama Foundation, a non-profit affiliated with Angama Mara, one of the Mara's luxury safari camps, launched the greatest Masai Mara Photographer of the Year competition, showcasing the Mara as a year-round destination and raise funds for conservation initiatives active in the Mara. The competition ran for 6 years, ending in 2023. The inaugural winner was British photographer Anup Shah. The 2019 winner was Lee Ann Robertson from South Africa. Paolo Torchio won in 2020. Harry Collins in 2021. Preeti and Prashant Chako in 2022 and Shravan Rao in 2023. Between 1989 and 2003, ungulates were monitored in the Masai Mara on a monthly basis. The survey revealed a decline of giraffes by 75%, of common warthogs by 80%, of hartebeest by 76%, and of impala by 67%, attributed to the increased number of livestock grazing in the park and an increase in poaching. The rise of local populations in areas neighboring the reserve has led to the formation of conservation organizations such as the Mara Elephant Project. The project aims to ensure the peaceful and prosperous coexistence of humans alongside wildlife. According to the project, human-wildlife conflict is seen as a leading threat to the reserve as the population continues to grow. Tourism has increased exponentially. Less than 10 lodges were in the area in the late 1970s. The end of the moratorium saw facilities increase to 140 in 2008, and nearly 200 in 2016. The growth in population creates a demand for land and resources, leading to unplanned infrastructure growth. The weak cash economy creates a need to further subdivide the outlying ranch areas. These new owners have converted some land away from traditional grazing fields, negatively affecting wildlife migration. A rise in fencing exacerbates the restriction in free movement for migration, and grazing opportunities are diminished. The Mara Conservancy encourages conservation efforts in the reserve and has accomplished several of their goals since taking stewardship. According to their website, as of 2022, they have arrested 4,500 poachers, vaccinated 100,000 dogs against rabies and distemper, improved access roads, and provided security for the local community and tourist facilities. We could see the rangers making rounds for a constant vigil in the conservancy so that the tourists keep a safe distance from the animals and to see that they are not disturbed. After the visit was completed, we proceeded to the Mara River Lodge, where we would be staying for 2 nights. The Mara River Lodge is situated on the banks of the Mara River, which has an abundance of hippos population. Wild ducks were also a treat for the eyes as darkness fell.